It's late. You're driving alone. The road is quiet. The kind of quiet where your headlights feel like the only thing keeping the dark back. You see someone standing on the side of the road, waiting. They look normal enough. Tired, cold, maybe a little out of place. You slow down. You offer them a ride. They get into your car. And for a while, everything feels fine. Until you look over. And the seat is empty. This isn't just a story. This is a legend that's been told for decades, all over the world. Welcome back to A Little Bit Cursed. If you're new here, this is a spooky podcast where we talk about true crime, urban legends, and stories that just feel a little bit off. Today, we're talking about one of the most well-known and most unsettling urban legends of all time, The Vanishing Hitchhiker. So get comfortable, because it's about to get strange. The story usually goes something like this. A driver is traveling late at night, often alone, often on a quiet stretch of road. They notice a person standing on the shoulder. Sometimes it's a young woman, sometimes a teenager, sometimes a child. The hitchhiker looks cold or lost or like they really need help. The driver stops. The hitchhiker gets into the car. They don't say much, but they're polite, soft-spoken, normal. They give an address, usually not far away. The driver continues down the road. Something feels off. Maybe the hitchhiker avoids eye contact. Maybe they're strangely quiet. Maybe the driver notices they aren't making any noise at all. And then, without warning, the hitchhiker is gone. No sound, no movement, just an empty seat. Okay, before we keep going, I want to pause for a second. One interesting thing about the Vanishing Hitchhiker legend is that folklorists consider it one of the most widely shared ghost stories in the world. Not because of a single event, but because the story changes just enough to feel local wherever it's told. The details shift, the setting changes, but the structure stays the same. And when a story spreads like that, it usually means it's tapping into a very specific fear. Not of ghosts, but of being alone, responsible, and unsure if you made the right choice. Okay, let's get back to the story. There are dozens of variations of this story, and that's part of what makes it so unsettling. Some common versions include the hitchhiker disappears just before reaching their destination. The driver later goes to the given address only to be told the person died years earlier. The family at the address says, "You're not the first person this has happened to." And in some versions, the hitchhiker leaves behind a jacket or a scarf. The item is later found at a grave, or the clothing belongs to someone long deceased. The details change, but the ending doesn't. They never make it home. This type of story really does make me think, why does the person just not make it to their destination, ever? It makes me think that maybe it's a ghost that just can't make it home for some reason, and they're just haunted by the fact that they're not able to make it home, and so they scare others. If you believe in that sort of thing. What's strange about the Vanishing Hitchhiker isn't just the story itself. It's how universal it is. Versions of this legend exist in the United States, Europe, Asia, Latin America, different countries, different cultures, same story. A stranger, a ride, a disappearance. One of the most famous versions comes from Chicago, the legend of Resurrection Mary. She's said to appear along Archer Avenue, dressed in white, asking for a ride home. Drivers report picking her up, she gives directions, and then somewhere near Resurrection Cemetery, she vanishes. Some people claim to have spoken to her. Others say she never says a word. But the story has been told for decades, often by people who swear it actually happened to them. This version of the story makes me think about that episode of Supernatural where I can't remember what it's called, but essentially this happens. And that's my little Supernatural shout out. Honestly, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Also, I still haven't finished it, so please don't spoil the ending for me. Also, why are people so confident that their experience was real? And also, too, this isn't just a one-off. Many people claim that this has actually happened to them. So it makes me kind of wonder, did it actually happen to them? Quick side note before we keep going. Studies on public fear consistently show that people tend to overestimate the danger of rare crimes, especially when those crimes are heavily represented in media. Hitchhiking didn't disappear because it suddenly became dangerous. It disappeared because our perception of risk changed. And stories like this are part of how that perception formed. Another unsettling aspect of this legend is how it's told. Rarely is it, "This happened to me." Oftentimes, it's, "This happened to my friend. This happened to my cousin. Someone my family knows." The distance makes the story feel believable. Close enough to be real, but far enough to avoid scrutiny. The Vanishing Hitchhiker isn't scary because it's violent. It's scary because it's familiar. Most of us have driven alone at night, passed someone on the side of the road, wondered whether we should stop. The legend lives in that moment of hesitation, that split-second decision. Help or don't. What makes these stories feel cursed isn't just the disappearance. It's the implication that some people don't need a ride. They just need someone to notice them, to acknowledge they exist, to carry them part of the way. And then they're gone. Honestly, between stories like this and movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think we can all agree hitchhiking has had a really bad PR team over the years. Because at this point, if you see someone on the side of the road at night, your brain isn't thinking, "Oh no, they need help." It's thinking, this is how every horror movie starts. The Vanishing Hitchhiker has survived for generations, not because it's shocking, but because it feels possible. It could happen anywhere, on any road, to anyone. And that's what makes the story feel cursed from the start. Before I go, if you enjoyed this episode, you can follow A Little Bit Cursed on your podcast app so you don't miss future episodes. You can also find me on social media at A Little Bit Cursed on pretty much anything you can think of. And if you feel like it, I'd really appreciate leaving a quick review. It really does help the podcast reach more people. Anyways, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.